Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the LoreLink live stream. I'm here today with Jones-Vermillion, who the producer creator of the Wine Dark Sea. Joe, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, nice to be here.
So you've been working on the Wine Dark Sea for a few years now. Tell me a little bit about the kind of the premise of the game and the setting you're building.
Okay, yeah. So basically, the premise of the game is you're space farers who have fallen into this like pocket dimension called the Wine Dark, and there's all manner of horrors there, from the beloved to the Erinys to various other dire bargas and stuff like that. So it's basically um, sci-fi horror, but instead of trying to like make the entire universe have like magic monsters and stuff like that, it's like you've fallen through the cracks of the universe into this pocket dimension, with three suns, and you try to get home, and it's inspired a bit by the Odyssey, inspired by a ton of other things and stuff like that, but that's
Nice.
the core premise. And one more thing is that as the characters grow in the wine, as they travel through the Wine Dark, they have these kind of two things that kind of are, kind of opposed. It's their destiny and their doom, and they have these milestones. So destiny is kind of like your standard leveling up. You get to add like
Mhm.
some points to, your abilities and stuff like that. Doom is where you get kind of like these dark gifts and boons that each background has, and every time you use them, you kind of incur doom, and then you have to, at the end of a session, see if you embrace doom, and if you reach a doom milestone, then your burden increases. I can talk more about that, but that's kind of the premise, is this,
Nice.
like corruption kind of, going
Yeah. So the Odyssey meets Star Trek Voyager meets Cthulhu.
on. That's a pretty good one, because I Star Trek Captain Janeway is one of my favorite captains. So like I just yeah. So
For sure.
Voyager's a really good, yeah. That's a yeah. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, uh, what has the creative process been like for you coming up with this? And kind of what was your inspiration to get started with something like this?
So the basic inspiration was, a group of friends and I had a book club, and we wanted to try an RPG game jam, and so we had gave ourselves 2 weeks, and the thing was, it can't use dice. This version uses dice, but
Nice.
so it was just 2 weeks of just, and you know how when you have some sort of like there's this, like, you're doing something creative and you're just in the flow and it just kind of pours out of you. Most of the background, just like the world building, just poured out of me, and so like
That's awesome.
I yeah, and so yeah, that was the base, and then
Yeah.
I kind of play tested it with friends and family and stuff like that, and then I could go on more if you want. I just want to
No,
make sure.
please.
Okay, I still
Continue.
want to. Okay, so and then so I was kind of playtesting, kind of moving away from cards, because
Yeah,
that was just, it got too a little hard.
sure.
And it wasn't really. I guess I was like flirting with horror, but wasn't, putting the pedal to the metal, so to speak. And I was on Twitter, and I was following Dennis Detweiler, who is like one of the artists and writers of Delta Green, and he's like, "Hey,
Mhm.
if somebody out there, I'll review somebody's like RPG for new writers," and I'm like, "I'll do it," and kind of like gave it to him. He was like, he read it, gave me some really good feedback, and he's like, "You should lean more into the horror," and so I just kind of leaned more into the horror, and I found a lot of inspiration that way. So that was super helpful, and I've had a lot of good feedback from people. And the artist, Zach Reneker, um,
Mhm.
really good artist. They just got the vibe right away. Like
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and they also wrote the two adventures at the end of the book, and stuff like that, and they've been great for
Oh,
just
nice.
bouncing ideas off of. Yeah, so a lot of feedback from people. Also, I took it to the UK Gaming Expo. I had a little, like, I printed it out, with those, like, book printing places, and
Yeah.
handed it out to RP. I handed it out to Rowan, Rook, and Descartes. I just love the Heart and Spire books that they've
Mhm.
their RPGs are awesome. gave me really great feedback. I got some great
Oh,
feedback from
that's
other
amazing.
people and stuff like that. And then I was able to find a person to do layout because mine was just janky and stuff like that. And so like I was able to put together like another iteration. I'm always like, because I do software engineering, so I'm always thinking about like just get the product out, see what people like,
Right, right.
get feedback and stuff like that. So yeah, this is the current, well, this is the current printed iteration. I'm currently working on another edit and stuff
Yeah.
like that that has some things smoothed out. Yeah. That's
That
kind of
might
what
be a
I'm
great
hoping for.
segue to yeah, right. Might be a great segue into actually showing a little bit of the art, if you don't mind me doing that.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Okay, so there's the cover of the book up there, and we've got we've got a few kind of excerpts of the layouts and
Yeah,
some of the species and cultures in here, which is really cool. Like I
yeah.
love the way that that comes together.
I feel like uh, Zach and Gaz is
Mhm.
the designer, the graphic designer. Like I feel
Yeah,
like they've just like taken the writing I've done and multiplied it by 1,000. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
yeah,
I'm
sure.
standing on the shoulder of a giant. So yeah. So they do a really
So
good job.
one of the images I have here is the Wine Dark Sea, and it kind of has the crone, the maiden, the haven, and
Yeah,
this is a really cool uh, illustration of the space in that it kind of tells you what's out there without really giving you a feel for where things are necessarily. I
yeah.
assume that's intentional.
It was. I kind of like when I was talking to Zach, I was like, "Can like we were talking about like the map, and it was be kind, and I said it would be kind of nice if it was like kind of like an old timey kind of map, and
Mhm.
yeah. So I just it really came together well. He did a really good job on that. Yeah. And
And
yeah, and
yeah,
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, go good.
I was just gonna say, and I always liked I Three Sons was kind of the thing that I had in my mind, and I the idea of the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Just to kind of cast back to
Oh,
kind of like
absolutely.
Greek myth and stuff like that. Yeah, I really that was
And uh, the concept of having a partially complete Dyson sphere is awesome. I feel like that if anybody ever tried to do that in reality, that's pretty much how it would end up because there's no way you're finishing that project.
So yeah, I like the idea of a partially completed. Like I have this like in my brain. There's a species called the Beloved, and they wear these masks,
Mhm.
and they claim that they're the creators of the wine duck. They've just forgotten why they've done it and don't have the technology. But there's this like kind of like so the way I've tried to set up the Wine Dark Seas lore is to give you broad strokes, and I stole an idea from Ultraviolet Grasslands where they did rumors, and I said, here's the broad strokes, here's some rumors. It's up to the table to kind of like fill in the details because players are a lot more imaginative than I am, and so like yeah, and playtests have been really great because people put their own spin on things. But yeah, my kind of like not canon. I don't want to say canon, but like yeah, there was a species that made this that were kind of overthrown. They in the middle of building this Dyson spheres when they kind of like went extinct and stuff like that. So
I part of me wants to imagine that the problem was they basically scooped up all of the available raw material everywhere in the entire wine dark, and there it is.
yeah, it's just like this is all we got. Yeah. Yeah, it's like yeah. I think like also having the partially made gives kind of a wildness because one thing I really like is folk horror, so I wanted to have a place for that. So like the outer habitats on the edges of the hemisphere, like that's kind of where I think folk horror could happen. Because I try to make little spots for different types of horror and stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah, which is really a cool concept. So, um, so when it comes to actual gameplay,
mhm.
are you are you kind of imagining more that Voyager episodic style thing where you're kind of bouncing from place to place to place, going from adventure to adventure, kind of like the Odyssey works, or are you more imagining that you kind of end up going to one of these locations and then spending a lot of time trying to make your way through it or survive in that situation.
So I've played where we've done kind of like some deep dives into places and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But then I've done one shots where it's like you're going here and here. So like
Nice.
the way the game is structured is you have 5 milestones either for Destiny or Doom, and
Mhm.
then your character arc is done. Because I didn't I play D&D a lot,
Yeah.
and other long running games, and you peak about 7 or 8 level, and then it's like, oh, the campaign dies out for various reasons, and you're just like, oh, you don't get to have that completion. So I kind of put like 5 milestones that are you can get in about 20 to 30 sessions, so you can see the character's arc or descent, um
Yeah.
and kind of have that cap, kind of, so to speak. So yeah, I'm kind of answering your question but not, but yeah, like
Yeah.
I've played both, but I one thing I have worried about when making the Wine Dark is like, is a solar system big enough, like, and then I figured, dude, there's the Expanse, and there's so many stories going on in that, like, so in our
Right.
solar system. So I figured like it's a good, yeah. So you could travel from place to place, or you could spend a whole lot of time exploring various various planets and the
Yeah.
Dyson sphere and stuff. Yeah. So
Nice.
yeah.
So, trying to think through, you want to talk through a little bit about kind of some of the setup when you want to try to get into the game a little bit. Like how
Yeah.
would you get started?
So I in the a session zero would be good. Is what I tend to do is, so I get the players together and stuff like that, and then I say, you know, what kind of horror is too much, like what to avoid and what people want to lean into. So that's that kind of thing,
Right.
and then kind of like you come up with the kind of starting spaceship, what the technology level looks like, so that, like, you know if you wanted to do, I don't know, like do a Dune style where you had navigators and stuff like that, you could do that, and or you could do a Star Trek thing, or
Uh-huh.
somewhere in between. So like a session zero for me is important, and then you kind of
Yeah.
just like, how I've done it is I've kind of like had them in their ship traveling, doing a
Mm.
routine journey, and then they just their ship just winds up in the Wine Dark, and that way players can explore. But I think a GM it might behoove them to kind of read through some of the background and stuff like that. And then, like,
Right.
I also have broadly outlined the cultures that characters can come from, so that they can kind of fill in their own. And it's interesting to see the different takes people have. Like, there's the
Yeah.
merchant barony, which, you know, very, like capitalistic and stuff like that. And people have taken it to be like, where people have warrants of trade and stuff like that and all this jazz. So yeah, I guess, sorry. So session zero is probably where I would kind of like
Yeah.
help people figure it out. And then they acquire their dark gifts and their boon when they arrive in the Wine Dark. And that's kind of their little like special abilities that are kind of fueled by doom and stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
that's we're slowly going to corrupt them if they keep using them. But yeah.
Right. And like anytime with horror, I feel like a session zero to do like player safety out
Yeah.
guidelines and everything is always super important.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, that's one of the things that we built into Link. I want to say a year and a half ago. So when you invite somebody into your campaign, you can ask them to to fill out player safety questionnaire,
Oh,
so that you can use that to kind of help level set right out of the gate.
oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Because
So
yeah, it's oh,
yeah, I just feel like that's something that needs to become a first class citizen in gaming in general, especially I want to say especially when you're playing with people you don't know, but I think that's actually wrong. I think it's especially when you're playing with people you do know well, because you don't necessarily know what those pitfalls are, because those are things you don't talk about or encounter, right? You're less likely to ask those hard questions of people you feel like you know well.
yeah. I agree, because I don't want to, like, you want to you want games to scare and excite people, but you don't
Yeah.
want somebody to really get really scared. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't like roller coasters, but there's the roller coaster scare, where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of safe, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But then there's the really like, oh god, this really scared me. And you want to make sure that people aren't, yeah,
it's nice to have a little bit of stress, a little bit of like you want to tug at that thrill without going into panic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like for me, it would be like if like a campaign was all about heights or something like that. It would just be like, ooh, I don't like. I'm not a bit. I don't like heights or something, or planes going into turbulence. It would be like that's not the horror I want to deal with. I want to,
Right.
yeah.
That's fair. So, walk me through the kind of the core mechanic when you're a player at the table. How does resolution work, for example, or what are the things I need to know?
Yeah, so the core resolution is basically and my rule system is a hodgepodge of various things that I've taken and filed the serial numbers off. But I would like to give a lot. But anyways, basically the core mechanic is you have a mind and a body pool that have a number of d6s, and then you have a difficulty level that's like from 1 to 20 plus, and you roll your dice. And sixes explode. So if I because the reason why I have sixes explode is because I like those kind of like long shots that get pulled off, like where you're like, I don't know if I can do this, but if I get a really good roll, I'll do it. And then you just have those memorable game moments, like where, oh my god, remember what? Yeah. So basically, it's you roll your mind or body pool depending on what you're doing. You
Mhm.
have things called truths that can kind of help you. They're like skills or little bonuses and stuff that give you like a number of successes, and then you see if you meet or exceed the check basically, and because there's a difficulty level you roll, and if you meet or exceed it, then you've passed the difficulty check. And there's this thing that was just added, this new rule that was added. We're still playtesting it. Um, uh, what happens is, sorry, I'm using my wrong mouse. I got to look at the. Basically, it's a tempting doom, and so if you get three or more successes, then you can either have a major complication, a minor complication, or a middling complication, or
Mhm.
conversely, a minor, major, or middling kind of like boon on top of that. So it's like if you go above, like really go above a success, then you can tempt doom, and it's all keyed off of your doom milestone and then your current level of doom, which is, let me pull back from that. So as you roll through the wine dark and do things, you accrue doom by using, by seeing horrible stuff, encountering really bad stuff, also by using your dark gifts, which, like for example, like the Void Cider has one called, sorry, I have to like, called That Panel Looks Loose, where they can find
Mhm.
a stash with something useful in it, and that costs one doom to use. So you can kind of accrue this doom, and then at the end of the session you tempt doom, and if you have 10 or more successes, then you basically go up a doom milestone. And then as you're going up these doom milestones, the first time you hit a doom milestone, you get this initial burden. Oh my god, I feel like I'm just going off on a tangent, but
No, no, no.
um, so basically, Doom is kind of like the corruption engine that a character has to watch out for, but it's really
Got
I've kind
it.
of greased
Okay.
the
Yeah.
wheels to
Yeah.
make it really fun to use. Like you can have these
Uh-huh.
really cool abilities, but it's going to come at a cost, and you get this burden. So like, think that's not a well, that's an okay example. Like Gollum, like like
Mhm.
he gets the ring, starts out, he's just stealing things and all this, and then his body is transforming, and then like that's what the doom kind of
Yeah.
burden is with the doom milestone. It's kind of like, and the way it works is that every time you hit a milestone, the GM asks you kind of a leading question, so you both have a little input. Like, it's like, for example, like something becomes really valuable to you. What is it? And then
Right.
the person playing like the golem in this would be like, oh, a ring that I had found. You know what I mean? And then milestone two, it gets more and more, and then you get actually gameplay mechanics that get added on, like, say
Mm.
like all social interactions are at two difficulty level higher because you know your skin's getting pallid, your hair's falling out, you're starting to say Gollum and go. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's the kind of doom. And then
Oh.
by Doom milestone 6, that's when you basically do something terrible, and you either kind of die or you become like a monster or a boogeyman that kind of like can roam around the wine dark, but you're no longer a character anymore if your doom milestone hits 6. So it's this kind of,
Nice.
yeah, and then destiny is like you're building your destiny in this kind of oracular way. Is that the right word? In this way of like where you get these kind of like, every destiny milestone you hit, you get like a little bit of like like a like like a prophecy kind of like it, and that way
Okay.
the game master can set up kind of like when you hit destiny milestone 6, they can set up an ending for you, like like and I it's I'm like I have to look in the I'm like looking in the rule book right now for like an example. Oh yeah, here it is, destiny. So the way destiny works is the first milestone you get where the destiny will happen, the milestone 2 is the reward, and so on, and then the tables are like you roll on it, and the thing is like, for the location, one of the things is like from a place of memory you will be tested. It's kind of vague, it's vague, but gives like a little bit of narrative kind of hooks for the GM to be able to kind of like, oh, this character is getting close
Yeah.
to the end, I need to set them up to, you know move on, so to end their story
Yeah.
arc in one way or another.
So when they do move on in the positive direction, do they still stop being a character in the wine dark? Is it because they managed to escape, they got home, or something else? Or it could be any number of
Yeah,
things.
yeah, it can be any number of things. They can escape, they can get home, they can come to grips and peace with like being there and stuff, or they can,
Mhm.
I don't know, die some heroic death like fighting off a bunch of like, uh whatever. So it's, yeah, you're because it's like it's basically like I wanted players to have like characters that had like full arcs that they could do, and then like
Mhm.
like I didn't want it to overstay its welcome, where it's like, oh, the campaign fell apart and we can't, you're never going to know
Right.
the end of
No,
like
I
your
like that.
character's story. Yeah, so
So you set up at the very beginning that kind of the premise is you're trying to escape the wine dark and get back home. Is that
yeah.
actually a common conclusion or eh?
Yeah, the way I've played it is it's not.
Yeah.
You like I would
Yeah.
I would say it's a very rare thing, and it's like it could also be the
That makes sense.
MacGuffin to
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
drive people to like, oh, I found this artifact that might take us home, and just a way to, because it's like it just depends on the table, like in the story, like
Right.
if they want, like they get out, maybe it comes at a high cost, or they make peace with not getting out, and so you know what I mean. So it's yeah, it's a rare thing. It's not like people are coming and going. It's this kind, like I yeah, it yeah. So,
The, the good news is you got out. The bad news is you just hit Doom 6 or 7 and
yeah, so you turn into like, yeah, you're eating your fellow passengers. No, I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, so
So it feels like it would be very common that at some point you might end up with some conflict between characters. If some of them are kind of turning dark, they become part of the challenge. Is that
yeah, different. Yeah, there's been times where characters have like done things that are other characters are like, why are you, like what are you doing, and stuff like that, because they have these motivations and stuff, and their burden may, you know God, I keep falling back on the Gollum reference, but like, could you, like, you imagine like you are very protective of your ring, and if you think people are near your space, then you get panicky and stuff like that, and yeah, it definitely can drive conflict between players and stuff like that, but
right?
be safe in managing that, make sure, yeah, it's just, yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that can be both super interesting and hard to manage as a GM sometimes. But it's a super rewarding type of interaction because you're really giving some ammunition to the players to engage with each other.
yeah, and I also, I think like it can also be, yeah, it can be interesting. It can also be like that kind of like we're hanging out, we're a team because
Yeah,
we have this common goal, not because necessarily we like each other. I wanted the horror in the Wine Dark Sea to be like external and then also be internal, like
yeah,
like you could
yeah, yeah,
become the monster, so yeah,
yeah, for sure.
it's a weird game. So I'm just, so yeah.
No, I like the concept of that is really very cool. So you've obviously put a lot of work into the system and the characters. There's a lot of background. Is there anything specific about kind of the locations or the setting that you wanted to tell us about?
Oh yeah, so the locations, there's a variety of planets that have
Mhm.
like various like kind of rumors and such, and then there's the three suns, and then there's this thing called the Gate, which behind it live the Iranese. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not I don't speak Greek, but like it, like the Furies and kind of stuff. So they're
Yeah.
kind of like and I don't know if I stole that subconsciously from Warhammer Fantasy, but I don't know because they have the gates at the poles where chaos pours
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
So, but I wanted this kind of like, I wanted there to be like these, eldritch beings and kind of like
Mm.
demons that could come out, but then weren't always just pouring out. And then I have to figure out a narrative way that it's just not like, oh, this is just another hell, So like,
Yeah.
I have the
Yeah,
gate
yeah, yeah.
which opens and closes periodically and stuff, and these kind of like creatures come out and stuff like that. And then because it's so large, cultists have built like little habitats on the side of this like construct, right? Like living on there and praying in there and stuff
Sure.
like that. So that's one thing. Then there's there's a planet that the entire surface has been like turned to like glass, like it's been just fused glass, but there's cracks and stuff, and inside of those cracks there's like habitats and stuff like that. But there's
Hmm.
rumors that something lurks under the surface, or if you stare too long at the at the glass, you see stuff, and it yeah. So those are some places, and then there's the hemisphere, which is the partially finished Dyson sphere, which has got a bunch of like thriving cities. But then as you go further away from those thriving cities, it gets more and more kind of weird and stuff like that, and you
Yeah.
have abandoned habitats and stuff like that. Yeah. So,
Okay.
I yeah, I tried to sprinkle enough horror that held together,
Yeah.
cohesively, but also gave people like they could lean into different horror. Like you could do the demonic horror, you could do eldritch horror. The beloved are their kind of own. I don't know where they come from, but like I just like the idea of these masked figures that are outwardly friendly, like Kai Wynn, like outwardly
Yeah, yeah,
friendly, but are super like, ooh, they are not, like they're yeah. So a lot of Star Trek. But yeah, so
yeah.
just those kind of things, just trying to,
Nice.
you know,
One of the things that can be super compelling with horror sometimes is sometimes having something bizarre and grotesque and unusual is great, but some of the more compelling horror sometimes is the super mundane. Congratulations, you found this place and you're talking to this shop owner and you're having a normal interaction, but it's totally weird and you're not sure why. I mean,
yeah.
those can be really fun kind of twists.
Yeah, no, that there's like there's that scene. Oh my god, this is like I had a misspent youth where I watched a lot of horror movies when I was a kid and sci-fi, so that's probably why but
Yeah.
there's a scene in The Mouth of Madness where the guy is talking to a an innkeeper, and it's a really kind of weird interaction, and her like husband is kind of like under the counter, and it's all weird and shit. Like that kind of mundane, like I'm having
Yeah,
this weird
yeah,
interaction, and there's something weird, and then there's this kind of unsettling under there. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, exactly. Fantastic. So, as the game master trying
Mhm.
to get into a campaign, what does the prep look like? What is the process you would go through to kind of set the game up and get things established? And how do you plan what's going to plan ahead for each session?
Yeah. So the way I kind of do it is basically like assuming that they're already there, and we've had a session zero, and they've kind of like had their initial kind of shock of being in there. The way I kind of prep is basically I take notes as the session that I'm currently running is happening, and things that people are showing interest in, and then for the next session I take those notes and kind of riff on them. And I might have some overarching plots, but I've kind of learned that like don't try to plan too deeply. Like I there's one time I planned, this was when I was a younger GM, where I in Roll20 had built out this like entire extensive 3 areas with dynamic lighting and encounters, and the players were like, no, we're just going to go to the middle of town and we're going to go, go to this tavern and stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's so it's like, so I've been really like, let the players guide me, but
Yeah.
also have threads and consequences to what they've done, and kind of like have some overarching thing, but keep it a little vague, until you
Yeah,
you and the
totally.
players kind of crystallize on it. Because yeah, I've over prepped before, and it burned me pretty bad. So yeah, yeah.
Well, and there's a lot to be said, especially in. I feel like this is a little bit sandboxy. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's kind of there's a lot of opportunity for the players to drive the narrative in the direction of where they want to go. So
yeah.
that is a totally different style of prep and play than something where you have the story arc pre-planned. Like a lot of D&D and Pathfinder adventures, for example, are written with a story arc built in, and you're going to generally try to keep the players to that story arc, and they're going to deviate from it, but you're going to generally follow that. This is not necessarily that type of game.
No, it's sandboxy. I think because it's
Hmm.
like I it might just come from like me learning that hard lesson of
Sure.
not overplaying. Like I guess, or
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. You know what I mean? Like so, like I
Yeah.
don't want, because people can do it really well,
Yeah.
and it makes you think like, oh, I made these choices. They're like, sure, you can think you made those choices, and that's why you're here. But no, like but this is pretty sandboxy, and I've tried to create like the factions so that
Hmm.
there could be like something for the GM to kind of like use as levers to kind of go like, oh,
Right.
you're doing this, yeah. So yeah.
Right. I feel like it's a situation too where you may find that as different groups are playing it, they're going to end up fleshing out some of the cultures differently than another table would, and that's totally fine. And if they
Yeah.
end up playing 2 or 3 or 4 games in a row, they're going to keep leaning into that definition that they already have in their heads, which may be wildly different from what you had envisioned. And
I, I find that the best part is when like when you're playtesting and somebody's like, oh, I'm gonna make the Merchant Barony, or I'm gonna make the Alliance like this, and they kind of lean into it, or like, it's just, people are so creative, and it's just
yeah,
awesome. Yeah, like so I love reading about lore, but I like it when the lore is open enough that players can kind of make their twist, or the table can make
yeah,
something true or not, or the GM can pick, like, so it's not too confining for a person to like, they
right,
can pick their
right,
own thing, because they're gonna have better imaginations than I do. But like, like, yeah. So I'm just kind of, it's one of those ones where it's, you can run a little wild.
oh
But
yeah.
yeah. So
It's always fascinating to me. So I've GM'd at Gen Con a few different
hmm
years, and one year in particular, I ran the exact same one-shot adventure 3 different times for 3 different groups, and every single one of those groups approached the challenges so drastically, radically different. You would have sworn it was a
hmm
completely different game, and
nice.
it's just fascinating. Like it was like a diesel punk space adventure, right?
Oh
Very
wow,
pulp.
that sounds cool.
And
Yeah.
one group turned it into a military adventure. Another treated it like more of a D&D style, I'm going to come in as the big old heroes and follow the story arc as tightly as we can. And another group entirely is like, we're going to do the most ridiculous stuff possible because this is pulp and we're going to just be outlandish and have fun with it. And they didn't look at all like each other, and I have fun with that. It can be
Yeah.
challenging to
Yeah.
run,
Yeah.
but so fun.
No, I love it when players get kind of creative with problem solving and stuff like that, or where they're like, I want to do this, and you're like, okay, like, I'm flying by the seat of my pants here. I tried to make the dark gifts kind of like that, where they were like these little moments where the player could kind of have like a thread to pull on the narrative and stuff like that. Like, but it came at a cost,
Hmm.
so they shouldn't
Right.
be doing it all the time. But yeah, I just love that. Yeah, where players just surprise you, because I have run the first playtest I did involved like a derelict spaceship that they had to go into, and there was an AI that was corrupted. It was so
Mhm.
basically, yeah, it was interesting how different players approach different problems and stuff like that and setup. So,
Sure. So, so if I could for just a moment, I want to
mhm,
talk a little bit about the prep piece again, because
mhm,
well, I mean, what we're doing right now at Lorelink is trying to build software that works for a wide range of systems. And so one
mhm,
of the big questions we get asked a lot is, hey, I'm really a low prep. This is a low prep system, or I run low prep games. I don't really have a use for a tool like this. And one of the things that we are trying to I don't know, educate, inform people about is the
mhm,
idea that a tool can still be really helpful, because as you're coming into a game like this, yeah, you have the session zero. First of all, you've got all the player safety stuff. You want to make sure that you've got those things in place. You want to make sure that you have your characters and the general premise set up. And then, as you mentioned, you got to take good notes, right? You want to be able to take notes about the things that are occurring, so that when they visited a place or they've talked to a person or an NPC or a character, you've started introducing a story arc or a villain behind the scenes. You do still have to write that stuff down, and it's really useful when you can do that in a way that ties the pieces together. Because one of the things that I've always found challenging when I'm running a game
mhm,
is, if I take notes simply chronologically in the order in which things occurred in like a Google Doc or on a notepad or whatever, it's really hard for me to utilize that for planning in the future, or even more importantly, when I'm sitting at the table trying to look up what had occurred, where do I go for this piece of information? So,
yeah,
what we're trying to do is provide Lorelink is both a note-taking system and a planning system, right? And so one of the things that we want to be able to do is, if you're in this type of game and you want to use it as a note-taking system, awesome. Then your planning between sessions can be, I'm going to connect these things together so that everything, you're building this like web of lore about the game in a way that makes sense, so that when your players come up with crazy stuff, you can very quickly and easily identify, what are my notes related to this? What are the locations of the things that have, what have we done related to this previously, so that you can maintain that story continuity?
no, and that's great, because I have been in places where I've taken notes, and like I thought I put, like, like I use Roll20, and you think like,
Yeah,
oh, I put my NPC, like I made an entry for them, and it's like, no, no,
yeah,
no, you didn't do that. You put it into this other thing, and now you've got, because
mm-hmm,
players may not quite remember a name of an NPC, but if you get it
yeah,
wrong, they'll be like,
oh
no,
yeah,
that's not their name,
no,
and you're
that's
like,
not it.
yeah, you're like, yeah. So no, that's super helpful, because like having that web, and then having something that's like you can have context to, that sounds really nice,
Right,
especially for like NPCs. That's, I remember that, because I've gotten into, not trouble, but like, I've gotten into like, where, oh
right.
shit, what was this guy's name? And yeah, so
So when you use Roll20 for a game like this, are you doing maps, like building maps, or are you just showing visuals, or is it for the rolling and the character sheet primarily, or what are you looking for?
so sometimes we have maps, because it's very like theater of the mind, and the distance is
Yeah,
very like near, far, and close. But yeah,
yeah,
I've used maps, because it's good to sometimes show people where they are, and stuff like that.
yeah,
And and like where the combatants are. But like, I'm also thinking like for some of the D&D games I've ran, like where it's like,
oh
oh
yeah.
crap, this minor NPC that they visited, where they had a nice interaction, they want to go back to, and you're like, I gotta get.
Yeah,
So yeah, so that's what I use Roll20 for. It's just for distance based
yeah, 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 that
role
makes sense.
playing stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
yeah, because
Yeah, being able to have the players in a system as well, and kind of choose what information to share and reveal, and interact, is that's something we added a while ago, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, based
mm-hmm.
upon popular demand. Like, we're going to be GM tools. That's going to be great. And GMs got in and said, "This is awesome. Now how do I share this with my players?" First thing, yep,
Yeah.
heard. Okay. And that's kind of how anytime you're building for the public things,
Mhm.
you have to listen to feedback. You have to take that feedback. You have to work with it. And you've told me you've gotten a lot of feedback for the game over time. How has that kind of shaped and changed the direction you've gone in?
It's I've had like a lot of good feedback. And it's helped me to like one, it helped me to rethink some of my darlings, and then it also like helped me to like go, oh my god, I didn't think of that, and then riff off of that, like, oh, what about the, and stuff like that. So I think one of the big things was um characters, initially characters just kind of like, uh, Doom was a very different thing in the beginning. It was like this. In Doom was like the little mechanic that just would never die. It was like always in every part of the game. But that was, I got feedback from people, and like that helped shape Doom, and also characters, because and dark gifts and stuff like that. Because characters were like, oh, this background doesn't feel super different from this other one, and so I gave them dark gifts and their own truths and stuff, and that helped differentiate it and stuff like that. So that was, and a lot of good feedback on organization of the information and clarifying rules and stuff like that. I got it. The tabletop RPG community is so cool. I you just hand a book to somebody and you're like, can I give feedback? And like people will just like graciously, like from on high, just be cool, dude. Yeah, I'll give you feedback. And so yeah, I've gotten some really good feedback from people. And then players are great at giving feedback. They'll be like,
Hmm.
why is this happening? And you're like, oh, because I didn't really think that through. So yeah.
Right.
So I've yeah gotten some good feedback.
How do you go about finding playtesting groups for something like
I
this?
so Yeah, so so in the beginning it was as friends and family I could press gang into
Sure,
doing
of
it.
course.
And then Zach the artist has
Mhm.
playtested with some people that he's playtested with, and then he
Nice.
and another person took it to a small convention in Oregon and did some playtesting.
Nice.
And I have yet to find a group here in Ireland. I'm working on that. Trying to find like
Yeah.
a gaming group to. But yeah, so mostly just kind of remote friends and family. Um, I'm hoping with the designer right now is laying out the quick start rules, so I'm hoping to put that on the Abyssal Raven Games website and then have people just download it and play it, and then like have like a little feedback, like link or something, just so I can get feedback from people who play. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's kind of just the people, you know what I mean? At least for
Right.
me, it's, I don't, yeah. So
So what is the status of the project right now? Can people go out and start playing it?
yeah. So the status of the project is it's going to come to Kickstarter in 2 to 3 months, because a lot of pieces have to
Nice.
go. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty excited. The designer is going to do the quick start rules in a week or two, and I'll put that on the website. But it's done. Uh, I've got some stretch goals, like some extra backgrounds. One is an homage to the Bene Gesserit, which is, called the Acolyte, and the other is called the Warden. And that background is based off of Ian M. Banks's novel Surface Detail, I think it is, where they
Hmm.
had these digital afterlives, and I just thought the idea of
Oh,
someone
cool.
escaping the digital afterlife, these
Oh, that's
consciousness, and
amazing.
then someone to go hunt them down. Yeah, that's one of the backgrounds. So yeah, that's kind of like, so it's going to be on Kickstarter. I plan to get the quick start rules in a couple of weeks, and it's just,
Nice.
the overall rule set is pretty good. I always am a little freaked out by edge cases, and not like, I'm a one person. Well, I've got people like working with me, but like we're really small,
Yeah.
and so I worry like, oh god, have we
Yeah.
play tested this enough? Is there some sort of broken
Oh,
combo,
yeah,
or
totally.
like it's just, but like but I'm like, it's a very, yeah, it's I've tried to have like special abilities come with that cost of Doom, so it's like you're going to use
Hmm.
this and you can spend it, like, it's just, free money, but it's going to come due. So yeah, it's basically, once the Kickstarter goes and launches and hopefully funds, um, then it'll be, probably a few months of like, because there's a one thing that the artist suggested was having an Oracle deck, um,
Hmm.
to add into the system so that players
Yeah.
could, use it, and that's going to take a little bit of, playing and playtesting and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, and it's going to be fulfilled through drive through RPG. I really plan on leaning into, because I'm in Ireland and I don't I don't want to pay tariffs or anything. So I'm going to use
Yep.
Drive Through RPG to do fulfillment. Do the kind of coupon at cost, and then
That makes
you
sense.
know, yeah. So that's, but it's knock on wood. It's very close to being done. But yeah, the quick start
That's
rules should
awesome.
be out there, and just getting feedback and just refining. So,
Fantastic. Very, very cool.
yeah.
So you've got a big couple of months ahead of you.
Yeah. The whole business side. I keep saying it's like, wow, writing the book was really easy, like compared to like oh, now I've got to do a spreadsheet and do business and all this stuff. So yeah, I think I've got a good budget, and so gonna do that. And then I'm working with a designer. I've got to write the copy for the Kickstarter page, which is just like I've got, it's just
hmm
there's certain things you're just like I've got to do this, and yeah, so that
Marketing is hard, and it, it's
yeah.
to make it even harder when you've got to talk about yourself and the things that you're doing. It makes it even harder. Like I can Tony, who does our marketing, it's like preach.
No, it's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, it is.
It was funny, like when I had the first little book, which was like the slim black and white book. Like I
Yeah.
went to the booth where Rowan Rook and Ducard were, and I was talking to a person there, and she was like, "Do you have anything else?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then Leanne's like, Leanne's my wife, basically was like, "Yes, he has. He wants you to get feedback on this book." And I was like, "Oh," like I was so shy. It was just because it's like, and then they gave me really great feedback. So like, no,
Yeah.
it was yeah. So it's just it is
All,
hard. It is hard.
it, all kidding aside, though, having a buddy who's not tied into the project to help kind of do that push is really helpful, especially the first few times until you get a feel
Yeah.
for it, because it's so easy for us to brag about and talk about and share stuff our friends are doing.
Yes.
And it is so hard for us to do that same thing for ourselves.
Agreed. It's yeah, it's like it's easy to cheerlead like somebody else that you're like, go, this is awesome. And then yeah, like when it's yourself, you're like, yeah, here's this thing, cool. Yeah. Or even if you don't say it, like yeah, it's hard. I've got to try and get better at that. So yeah.
Yeah, Tony, I'm sure you've posted stuff like this on Blue Sky. I hear you. um, looking at the comments. So when you think about how you're promoting this, like do you have you been to going to conventions? Are you gonna have people taking this to conventions for you? Like what kind of
So
in-person aspect is there gonna be?
yeah, so I had the artist went to a small convention in
Mhm.
I think it was like Milwaukee, in Oregon,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
so I plan on going to the UK Gaming Expo this year and just having some
nice.
printed out, like the next iteration of this,
That's
printed
awesome.
out and just to hand out to people. I don't know
Yeah.
if the Kickstarter is going to be going at that point. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It depends on
Mhm.
how. But yeah, that's kind of my plan, and then just promote it on Blue Sky, and then I I really have to get my I have to figure out that kind of
Yeah.
promo piece
Yeah,
more.
totally.
But yeah, it's definitely like I don't have like a high Kickstarter goal because it's very like it's doing the print on demand where you get a coupon,
Yep.
so I don't have to
Yep.
have that high. I don't have to because I've heard horror stories where people print out, they get beautiful books printed and then they're at their house and then they've got to ship them out and pay all the shipping.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh god, I just can't do that. Like I
No,
just
no, no, no. I
yeah.
yeah, for sure. For sure. That makes perfect sense. And
So I
honestly, I think it's smart to kind of manage the risks in some manageable way like that, especially right now, especially with gaming as a global hobby, right? Like
yeah,
gaming is huge in the US and the UK and Ireland and France and Germany and Australia, like everywhere. It's all over the
yeah,
place.
yeah,
And how do you manage to that as a small like a one-man shop or a small team? It's tough.
yeah. Yeah, that's kind of why I went with the print on demand because Drive Through has
Yeah.
one in the UK. They have so they
Yeah,
can
yeah.
reach Europe and stuff like that, and then there's one in the US so that they can reach
Yep.
the US and stuff like. Because I was just like I, I it's it's already overwhelming to do the business stuff of like setting up a business and like planning
Yeah.
out the Kickstarter and stuff. It's like, oh god, if I have to ship this out, it's like, you know, I just at some point I would like to print out really nice books, but like they don't, they do a pretty good job, and I
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, that makes perfect sense. At
yeah,
some point in time, it's you're in software, you get it. You just got to get it out into the world, right?
yeah, yeah. Iteration. I just think it's a it's version one, and it's just
Mhm.
get it out there. People will play it. There's probably going to be things that I need to fix, or like refinements and stuff as people come in with
Yep.
like, oh, or additions and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of the plan, to get the quick start in front of people,
Mhm.
getting them kind of playing and stuff like that. But yeah, it's iteration, right? Like just get something
Yeah.
out. Like a friend of mine, Craig, was the person who was like, because I had a Google Doc, and he's like, when we go to the UK Gaming Expo, you should really print out a book, because then you can hand it to people and they have a book and not just a link to a web, like a Google
Yeah.
Doc and stuff like that. And that was really helpful to get feedback.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, one of the things as we've talked to had the opportunity to talk to just a lot of creators,
Hmm.
I feel like everybody's kind of in the same boat. And you talked about how great the community has been, and I feel like that's really true. There's
Yeah,
so many people creating amazing things in this industry that they've got this one passion project that they're working on, or it's a really small team trying to create stuff, and we're not competing with each other really. We're
no,
competing against boredom. I mean, we're competing against right? Like what are
yeah,
we competing against? Chess? I don't know.
yeah,
Video games, movies, maybe,
yeah,
but it's all about getting more uh gaming options out into the world, and people are great about working together, promoting each other, sharing each other's
yeah,
stuff, and there's so much opportunity to build more cohesive community around this creative process, and
yeah.
how do we discover, like, discoverability of new games you might want to play, for example. So that's become kind of one of our, like, pet projects as a team, is like, how do we help promote the stuff that's going on, and increase the discoverability of the amazing games out there that are not Dungeons and Dragons.
I I would love that. I'm just gonna say, because like I have to basically use Blue Sky,
Mhm.
Kickstarter and BackerKit, and
Yeah,
kind of lurk
right.
around and try to. But then there's these great projects that just slip under your radar, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, how do I, So yeah, no, that would be awesome. Yeah,
And like, we use these platforms, and they help. Like, Kickstarter does help people find you. If you
yeah,
get on Working Geek or RPG Geek, right? That is a place that people can find. There are platforms for things, but it still feels like so much of it happens because you happen to meet somebody at a convention, or you happen to show up at a game store at the right moment, or like
yeah,
you had this interaction on social media, and so much of it is just kind of fortuitous outreach, as it were. So I don't know. There's so much opportunity for continuing to grow and build community around gaming, I feel like, um, and it's something we all benefit from doing.
yeah. No, I agree. Sometimes you just like stumble across something, and you're like, what? Where has this game been all my life? You know what I mean? Like, you just. But it would be nice to have a way to like have things like, you know bubble up to you. You know what I mean? Like not just
Hmm.
based on your interest, because sometimes there's games that are not like in your wheelhouse that you just are like, oh my god, this is like one of the coolest, like one of the coolest
Right.
games and stuff like that. So like, yeah, just yeah, because I was like thinking like as a software engineer, I'm like, oh, would you get an algorithm? Would people like have interest? But then you want that kind of discoverability of like a
Yep.
bookstore where you walk by an aisle and you see
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
like, oh, what's this cover? That kind of thing. So yeah.
It's it feels like it's and this is gets into that marketing conversation. It's so much um of a challenge to find the right audience, get your message in front of the right audience, get the
Mhm.
right information at the right time, make things discoverable, right?
Yeah.
And the days of Twitter virality are kind of behind us to a large
Yeah.
extent. Like going viral on social media today is borderline impossible, especially for niche projects. Not in the way that it used to, and that means making connections. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's been an interesting adjustment, and as this has come kind of this change has kind of rolled out over the last 4 or 5 years with how do we do outreach and connect with people. And I feel like part of that started with the pandemic. You
Yeah.
lost some of the in-person connections that you had, and as we kind of rebuilt a completely different world on the other
Yeah.
side of that, and it's been interesting. Uh,
Yeah.
some things are better, but other things are harder. I feel like for small teams and creators. So it's a part of that creative process that I don't think we talk about a lot, which is it's great to build something amazing, but I also want people using it and playing it. And how do I bridge that gap too?
Yeah. Yeah. Like how do you get it to people and stuff like that, or get people interested to pick it up
Yeah.
and stuff like yeah, because yeah, that is that is tough. I've heard like yeah, so it's just I have to figure that out. Like that's one of the things is like trying to come up with like how much do I spend on marketing? You know, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's funny
Yeah.
because people go
Totally.
like, "Oh, are you expecting to make large sums of money?" I'm like, "No, if I make my money back, I'll be super happy." Like, you know, like
Right?
I'm just trying to get a
Seriously.
I'm just trying to get this weird little project into the world and into people's hands to play. So yeah, that's kind of like what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do. Like, yeah,
I feel like a lot of people don't realize how many gaming projects are break even projects. Like literally
yeah,
our goal is to put this thing into the world without hemorrhaging money.
yeah, yeah. Pretty much, pretty much. It's like if I could break even, that'll be so great. But yeah, like because I it's like it's a weird little game, and it's just like if it's like I always said if 100 people like it, I'll be so happy. You know what I mean? So like that's anyways, but yeah, just break
Well,
even is
I,
my
I could tell you when I first heard about the Wine Dark Sea, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like the Odyssey in space with horror elements? Sign me up, right? That sounds amazing.
nice.
So
Thanks. It's just the Odyssey has such poetic language, like the Wine
does.
Dark Sea, gray-eyed Athena. Just those kind of just there's just
Mm-hmm.
these I don't know. So anyways, but yeah, like it's it was such a it was like such like a nice little title that I just kind of like yeah it just ran with it. I know that it means not red, it means kind of like the bluish of the sea, but I kind of have always in my brain translated kind of the red kind of wine. But anyways, yeah, I thanks. It's a weird thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree, 20. It's a fantastic title. Yes, absolutely. So, um, where can people follow you, find you, and make sure to stay in touch here?
Oh shit, yeah. Sorry, I gotta look at my Blue Sky handle because I think it's like so we have an Instagram page, woo, that we don't really do a lot with, not now, right now, because it's kind of a one person show. But it's so on Instagram
Oh, there, it's
oh sorry.
JB Lovecrafty.
Yeah, JB Lovecrafty for Blue Sky, and then for Instagram it's the Wine Dark Sea RPG.
Perfect.
Um, so
Nice.
yeah, Blue Sky is where I tend to chatter a lot.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. That makes sense.
yeah, it's either like my current progress through painting my Warhammer 40k Plague Marines, or like posting an article I wrote about like
Yeah,
Doom, the mechanic that wouldn't die, basically. So yeah, yeah, Blue Sky is a good place because that's where I'll probably just be like, oh, it's here's the Kickstarter and stuff like that. So yeah,
yeah. 20, thanks for sharing the links to those. Appreciate it.
thank you, thanks.
Yeah, perfect. So I would encourage everybody, please check out the Wine Dark Sea. Do follow Joe on Blue Sky and on Instagram, and make sure to look out for the Kickstarter when that drops. Of course,
Yep,
we'll be sure to share that information from Lorelink
thank
as
you.
well as soon as that comes out. Happy to share that. So
Thank you.
We will make sure you don't miss that as well. So I want to say thank you, Joe. It's been a great conversation. I think this is a super fascinating game.
Thanks.
I'm really looking forward to. I hope you're super successful.
Thanks. It was great being on and getting to natter on about the games. That was fun. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, everybody, take care. This has been the Link stream. Do give us a quick follow at on Blue Sky also at Link RPG. We'll be back next week with another Link stream here on Twitch. We'll be back to our usual time at 5 p.m. Eastern. And of course, you can follow us on YouTube as well. This stream will show up on YouTube shortly, and you'll be able to watch it in its entirety if you missed part of it. So thanks for being with us, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.